You were born in a small village tucked into the folds of the Balkans, where the mountains bleed mist at dawn and the air smells of earth after rain. Your family is not wealthy, but your childhood is cushioned by warmth, the laughter of your siblings, the crackle of a hearth, your mother's voice singing lullabies in a tongue that wraps around you like a second skin. Life is simple, measured by the rhythm of seasons, the sowing and harvesting, the long winters where stories lingered longer than bread. But beauty, in these lands, is a dangerous inheritance. You grow quickly, taller than your peers, your eyes a striking color that strangers often pause to remark upon. You do not yet know how this gaze will brand you, how every glance assessing your face is also calculating your worth in coin. When you are 12, men arrive. You remember only fragments, the smell of leather and horses, the hard grip of hands, the sound of your mother's scream. Some say your father sold you. Debts, they whisper, a desperate bargain. Others insist raiders took you, plucking you from your family like a ripe fruit no one could protect. To you, it doesn't matter. One moment you belong to your home, the next, you are property. The journey to Istanbul stretches endlessly. You ride in a caravan of other girls, some weeping, some silent with shock, all of you stripped of names and reduced to the commodity of your bodies. Nights are cold, and you clutch memories like they are talismans. You whisper your mother's lullaby to yourself, a fragile thread that keeps you tethered to who you were. When you finally see the domes and minarets of the imperial capital glinting in the sun, it feels like stepping into a dream and a nightmare at once. The city roars with markets, the smell of spices, the hum of languages you don't know. Somewhere in the heart of this metropolis, a palace waits for you, its gates not a promise of protection, but a lock. Innocence ends there, on the cusp of the seraglio, when you realize your childhood has been bartered away. The Topkapi Palace rises before you like a fortress of dreams, its walls gleaming under the Anatolian sun. You are led through its gates, your heart hammering in your chest. The world you enter is gilded and suffocating all at once, endless tiled corridors where the light catches on blue Iznik patterns, courtyards perfumed with roses yet hemmed in by stone, doors that open only inward and never outward. The harem is a maze of whispers, secrets, and eyes that watch too closely. You are stripped, washed, perfumed. The smell of rosewater lingers on your skin, but it does not wash away the fear. New clothes are given, silks too heavy for your shoulders, bangles that clink as if mocking your lost freedom. Your native tongue stumbles out of your mouth, but it earns only blank stares. Turkish words are pressed onto your tongue by stern matrons until they no longer taste foreign. There are lessons for everything. You are taught how to bow, how to pour sherbet with the grace of a swan, how to move your hips when you dance, how to sing songs that praise the Sultan's glory. The older women correct every gesture, every misstep, until your own body no longer feels like yours, but a puppet arranged for someone else's pleasure. They remind you constantly, obedience is survival. The Kizlar Asa, the black eunuch who rules over the harem, becomes a shadow you cannot escape. His eyes measure everything, your beauty, your silence, your potential. His voice is calm but laced with power, and you understand quickly that he is the true gatekeeper between you and the Sultan, between obscurity and danger. At night, you lie on your thin mattress beneath domed ceilings painted with stars, listening to the whispers of other girls. Some dream of rising high, becoming favored, wielding influence behind the veil. Others confess their fear of being forgotten, of growing old within these walls until their names vanish. You realize the harem is not simply a prison, it is an arena, dressed in velvet and lit by lanterns. When you close your eyes, you remember your mother's lullaby. But here, in this palace of silk and suspicion, it sounds more like a farewell than a comfort. Seasons blur together within the palace walls, each day gilded yet airless. You grow into adolescence under the constant surveillance of matrons and eunuchs, your innocence pressed into shape like molten metal into a mold. By now you speak Turkish with ease, but the lilt of your village tongue has nearly vanished, erased by repetition. What remains of your old self slips further away with each ritual lesson, each choreographed smile. Rivalries bloom like poisonous flowers in the harem. Every concubine learns quickly that affection is a currency and trust a debt no one can repay. The younger girls giggle in corners, plotting with eyes sharp as blades. The older ones watch in silence, their expressions carved from years of disappointment and loss. It is here you meet Aishi, a girl close to your age, her laughter quick and her wit quicker. She teaches you how to soften the matron's blows with charm, how to win small mercies with flattery. For a time, you believe her friendship is genuine, a sliver of warmth in a cold and calculating world. Together, you exchange secrets in whispers beneath lanterns, trading scraps of longing, her dream of freedom, your memory of mountain air. But the harem teaches cruel lessons. One evening, an official of the court pauses to watch you both as you dance in the practice hall. His gaze lingers too long on you, and you feel Aishi's hand tighten against yours before she lets go, her smile brittle. The following days are filled with small shifts. She no longer shares her food, her laughter turns distant, and she whispers to others when you approach. You understand then that loyalty is not stronger than ambition. Every woman here is a rival, every gesture a move on an invisible chessboard. Alliances form and dissolve like smoke, fragile and insubstantial. The eunuchs carry tails between quarters, feeding jealousy and suspicion. Even kindness becomes a weapon sharpened by necessity. One night, as you lay awake beneath the painted ceiling, you realize the truth. To survive here, you cannot simply be obedient. You must be cunning, learning when to smile, when to listen, when to keep silent even as betrayal blooms at your side. Aishi's friendship fades, leaving you lonelier but wiser. The palace hums with whispered conspiracies, and you, still so young, step into its rhythm. Childhood is gone, replaced by vigilance. The day you are summoned, your body turns to stone. A eunuch delivers the message in clipped words. The Sultan has taken notice. The air around you grows heavier, suffused with both envy and fear from the other concubines. Some glare, others bow their heads, all of them calculating what your sudden rise might mean for them. You are led through candlelit corridors, your hands trembling, despite the henna painted on your palms. Attendants prepare you as if you are no longer a person, but a ritual offering. Your hair oiled until it gleams, your skin brushed with musk and amber. The silks they dress you in whisper with every step, too heavy, too fine, as if weighing you down with invisible chains. The Sultan's chambers are vast, perfumed with incense and warmed by braziers of glowing coals. He sits surrounded by opulence, his robe embroidered with threads of gold, his eyes unreadable. When he looks at you, you feel both powerful and stripped bare. The night that follows is not a fairy tale spun from childhood dreams, but a ceremony of politics, intimacy braided with calculation. You are a prize, a possession, perhaps a pawn, but also, potentially, someone who can wield influence if you play your part carefully. In the days that follow, whispers trail your steps. Some call you fortunate, others mutter curses behind their veils. You begin to understand the paradox of your position. The Sultan's attention is both armor and target. Every smile you receive now carries poison at its edges, every gift of silk or jewel another reminder that your survival depends on his fleeting favor. Inside yourself, you wrestle with contradictions. You feel pride when the Sultan glances your way at a gathering, yet beneath it lies a hunger for freedom, a memory of a sky without walls. You tell yourself that power might bring safety, that perhaps you could carve a place where your voice matters. But late at night, alone in chambers heavy with incense, you cannot silence the question, Are you rising, or are you sinking deeper into a cage lined with velvet? The palace begins to close around you tighter than ever, its beauty suffocating, its dangers multiplying. You have entered the center of the game, and every move from here could crown or destroy you. Power tastes sweet at first, like sherbet cooled with snow, but soon it leaves a bitter aftertaste on your tongue. You are no longer one among many. You are watched constantly, judged by every flutter of your eyelashes, every hesitation of your voice. The Sultan calls for you more often, and gifts appear at your side. Silks from Bursa, pearls from the Black Sea, a comb carved from ivory. Yet each treasure only deepens the envy curling through the harem like smoke. The Valide Sultan summons you. She is formidable, the true sovereign of the palace walls, her presence heavy as incense. She takes your measure with eyes that pierce through the silk draped around you, weighing not only your beauty, but your cunning. Her voice is calm, her words gentle, but you sense the warning. Her patronage can lift you to safety, but her disfavor can sweep you into oblivion. You bow deeply, aware that she is as dangerous as she is powerful. Soon after, whispers begin to circle. Someone is spreading lies that you have insulted another favored concubine, that you harbor secret ambitions beyond your station, that you mock the Valide herself in private. At first, you dismiss them as inevitable jealousy, but then you notice the shifting glances of eunuchs, the stiff politeness of once friendly attendants. The ground beneath you is shifting, and you cannot see who shakes it. You search for the source, listening in shadowed corridors, pressing servants with feigned kindness, watching faces for cracks. Was it the concubine whose scarf you once borrowed? The eunuch who lingers too long at your door? Or, more painfully, was it Aishi, the friend who once shared her laughter with you? Every possibility cuts deeper until you feel the palace itself closing in, its mosaics and silks, now bars of a prison you cannot escape. Sleep becomes fractured, haunted by the thought that every step you take might lead you closer to ruin. And yet, you cannot crumble. You learn to smile more sweetly, to bow lower, to speak with words sharpened to disguise your fear. Beneath the mask, your mind churns, searching for the truth before the truth devours you. The harem is no longer just a prison or a stage. It has become a battlefield, fought not with swords but with rumors, alliances, and betrayals whispered in candlelight. And somewhere, someone has decided that you must fall. The blow does not come suddenly. It unfurls like a slow poison, seeping into every corner of your life. The Sultan, once eager for your presence, begins to summon you less. His eyes wander past you in gatherings. His laughter no longer brightens when you speak. You tell yourself it is temporary, a shift of mood, but deep down you sense the ground giving way. The rumors coil tighter. One day, a jeweled comb goes missing, and whispers claim it was found among your belongings. Another night, a eunuch suggests you spoke harshly of the Valide Sultan. Each accusation is small, but together they form a chain that drags you down. You defend yourself, but in the harem, defense often sounds like guilt. Then comes the moment you dread. You are summoned, not to the Sultan's chamber, but to the Valide's. She receives you seated high on cushions, her expression carved from marble. Her voice is low, steady, each word chosen with precision. Protection, she tells you, is no longer possible. You are to be removed from the Sultan's circle, your chambers reassigned. The words feel like a blade drawn across your skin, clean and merciless. Your rivals watch your fall with veiled satisfaction, their smiles hidden behind their hands. Aishi's gaze lingers the longest, and you see it then, an unmistakable flicker of triumph. It was her all along, the girl who once laughed beside you, who once whispered dreams in the dark, has traded your downfall for her rise. You are sent away from the gilded chambers, stripped of silks and jewels, dressed instead in garments plain as any servant's. Some whisper that you will be married off to a provincial governor. others that you will fade into the forgotten corners of the harem until time erases your name. Whatever the truth, your ascent has ended. As you step into your new quarters, small, dim, smelling faintly of damp, you understand the cruel rhythm of this world. Power is fleeting, favor fragile, and every smile conceals a dagger. You were once lifted high on the Sultan's notice, and now you've been dropped into obscurity with the same swiftness. The irony is sharp. For all the silks and jewels, you were never more than a piece on someone else's board. Exile tastes of dust. The silks that once clung to your body like a second skin are replaced by rough fabrics that scratch at your arms. You are sent away from the heart of the palace, bundled into a carriage that carries you for days until the domes of Istanbul are nothing but a memory. When the wheels finally still, you find yourself in a distant province, far from the shimmer of power, far from the scent of roses blooming in Topkapa's courtyards. The governor, who takes you as his wife, is a man of middling ambition, cautious and practical. He sees you as both a prize and a burden, a former concubine of the Sultan, once radiant, now tarnished by disgrace. He offers you a household and a measure of security, but not affection. His world is filled with ledgers, petitions, and the monotonous duties of provincial rule. You are expected to fade quietly into the background, a decorative relic of a courtly world that has no place here. Years pass, and your reflection changes. The sharp beauty that once drew envy softens into lines carved by sorrow and resilience. Children arrive, whether his or those entrusted to your care, you cannot say with certainty, but they bring you a gentler purpose. You tell them stories of far-off palaces, though you hide the bitterness between the words. They will never know the weight of jeweled combs, the sting of betrayal in candlelit halls, or the way a friend's laughter can sour into treachery. Yet, even in this quieter exile, the harem's shadows follow you. Letters arrive from Istanbul, scraps of news carried across distance. Ayşe has risen, favored by the Sultan, wrapped in luxuries that once touched your skin. The ache is sharp, but strangely, it no longer consumes you. Age has tempered your fire into embers that glow steadier, calmer. And then, one evening, you learn the truth. A merchant passing through the province tells you that Ayşe's rise was short-lived, that she too fell from favor, accused by another rival, discarded like so many before her. You sit in silence, staring at the fading light outside your window. Vindication feels hollow, yet it brings clarity. The palace was never built to preserve anyone's triumph. It devours all who enter, whether quickly or slowly. Redemption does not come in jewels or power, but in survival, in learning to live beyond the palace walls. You begin to see your exile not as a punishment, but as a strange kind of freedom. The years fold into one another like pages in a book that no one bothers to read. Your hair fades to silver, your hands knot with age, and the memories of silk and marble corridors blur as though they belong to someone else. The palace is distant now, its intrigues reduced to whispers that sometimes reach you on the wind of merchants' gossip. You no longer flinch when you hear the Sultan's name. It sounds like the echo of a life you once imagined mattered. In the quiet of your provincial home, you have become something unexpected, a teacher. Young women from nearby households come to you for guidance. They want to know how to move with grace, how to speak without trembling, how to navigate the cruel hierarchies of men. You do not tell them everything. Some truths are too heavy, but you offer them the wisdom of scars. You warn them that beauty is both a blessing and a chain, that ambition can sharpen into betrayal, that survival sometimes means swallowing pride. In their wide eyes, you see both the naivety you once carried and the resilience you had to learn. When your final illness arrives, it is gentle, like a tide pulling slowly at your body. You lie upon a bed facing a window, watching the sky soften into dusk. The sounds of life surround you, children laughing in the courtyard, the murmur of prayers, the distant call of a muezzin. You realize that though you were forgotten by the empire, you were not erased by time. You lived, endured, passed knowledge forward. No marble inscription will bear your name. No court historian will record your story. Yet, in the hush between heartbeats, you understand. The harem was never only a gilded prison. It was also a crucible, shaping you into someone who could withstand betrayal, loss, and exile. Your life may end far from Istanbul's splendor, but your memory will flicker on in the voices of those who learned from you, carried in lullabies and warnings alike. When your breath finally stills, it is not in fear, but in quiet release. The empire rolls onward, indifferent, but you have left behind something more enduring than jewels or favor, the unspoken legacy of survival.